present, but offer a unique perspective. And so I think it's always great to have an outside perspective to share with us how exactly our vision can become something that we can implement and also spark our minds to think that we haven't really thought about when thinking about what our vision could look like for Holy Trinity. But I'm enthusiast. He has served as parish priest of Our Lady of Peace in Rhodoport, chaplain to the Solemnity of the Sacred Heart, defender of the bond and the marriage tribunal of the Johannesburg Metropolitan. He is a committee member for the liturgy department of the SACBC and currently serves as episcopal vicar for the liturgy in the Archdiocese of Johannesburg. As a writer, he has contributed to several publications such as Spotlight Africa and the Daily Maverick. He has also written for The Thinker, The Huffington Post, News 24, The Southern Cross, and The South African. He has been a frequent participant on several media platforms across radio and television across Southern Africa and beyond. He has also contributed in artistic curatorial work and consulting, including being one of the lead curators of the centenary celebrations of the birth of Royal Tambo. He has published 3 anthologies of poetry. I wonder where he gets all the titles. But his anthologies in poetry are in the Quiet Realm, Maibuye, 25 Years of Democracy in South Africa, and Sometimes I Feel Like a Motherless Child. He was listed by the Mail and Guardian as South Africa's top 200 young South Africans in 2016 and is the recipient of the 2016 Youth Trailblazer Award for his outstanding contribution in youth development from the Gauteng provincial government. In 2025, he was invested as a Knight of the Holy Sepulchre of Jerusalem here at Holy Trinity. Father Lawrence read philosophy at St. John Vianney Seminary, Heathrow College, at the University of London and Bellarmine Institute. He holds a BA philosophy, a Master of Theology degree, and a licentiate in pastoral theology. Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome Father.
Gosh. Thank you. First of all, thank you very much for having us. You do understand, of course, that all of those things didn't happen at the same time. You sort of, over time, you get invited to this and you get invited to that sort of thing. I also want to thank Father Russell for this invitation. He didn't tell me that I'm keynote. He just said, would you come? Would you come? He said, would you come and just give some thoughts? And as I'm sitting there and I'm seeing the agenda, I'm thinking, keynote, gee. It sounds very important. Correct in that we are currently doing, I think, administrating at the Cathedral of Christ the King. And I always look at Father Russell with a sort of great envy. I would rather be down the street than up the street. As I stand here, I have to get out of here because we have a workshop for proclaimers of the diocese now, which is the other work that we do in the liturgy department of the Archdiocese of Johannesburg. So we have to get on with that. I'm very grateful to be spending this morning with you, just to give some reflections and some thoughts on what I think is the heartbeat of a vibrant parish. I suppose I always fall into my own traps. You would almost know how I will begin. Firstly, well, what we do when we are building communities and parishes, we're doing far more than just gathering people under a roof. Indeed, the parish model is one of the most successful models that we have been able to offer as a church. I often say the smaller, the better. And as we move over the years with new Christian movements and so on, you have these arenas and arenas and arenas of people who do not know each other. And the church becomes this sort of center, grand mall, where people just come to acquire whatever that they need and leave. The parish fundamentally is a building of communities and persons. To this day, I think about the parish community that I grew up in Diepkloof, Soweto. And every time I see somebody, even if I do not know them, I can tell whose child they are. 4, 5 generations down and so on. I just look at their faces. I think, I have a feeling you must be so-and-so's grandchild and so on. And therefore, that old model and trusted model has created one of the best experiences of human accompaniment there is. I do not think that parishes fundamentally are about, we should all like each other. There's great irritation in parish life. Oh, my dear. I can tell you that for free. But it is the fact that we stand fundamentally shoulder to shoulder in our shared condition of being created by God. Parishes are centers in which human beings are fundamentally equal. All of us. And I think that our roles in the parish are not necessarily hierarchies, but they are rather a plurality of roles that we play in the same body of Christ as equal human beings. And I find that parish life is very humbling. Christianity is very humbling because over and over it reminds you that you are not at the top of the hierarchy. Christ is. And all of us share in the condition of being created by God and standing equally. And so sometimes parish life, when we see the ones we've come to love over the years disappear, be it by death, by being housebound and so on, we're joined to them. Funny enough, I go back to that parish, and every time I walk into Diepkloof, I stand at the door and I can almost see, because Catholics are such tradition people. They sit at the same place all the time. And that's why they often wonder why the parish priest can tell that they haven't been to Mass. Well, I only have to look to my left, and there was nothing there. But every time I go there, I look around and I can still tell Mrs. So-and-so there, Mr. So-and-so there, and so on. And even though the majority of them are no longer there now, I think about them. Truly, for as long as I'm alive, some of those people can never be dead. They're very much alive in my mind every time I think of that place. And so parishes are fundamentally meant to be spaces of safety, where people fundamentally feel that they are in their truest home. The moment somebody feels uneasy, be it because of their way of life or whatever it is that we have difficulty with, they will not find the place to be a place of safety. And they will travel around until they find the place where there is fundamental peace. Nobody wanders into a church looking for a war. Nobody wanders into a church looking for the absence of peace. Every day in the cathedral, and indeed here, I look at people who are sitting in the pews silently in this mad city. When you step right outside the gate, you think, oh God, wear the armor of God. You need far more to just walk down the street in the CBD. but people wander into churches looking for peace. Secondly, it's the second point. That was my introductory remark, but the real first point is this. A parish that is Christ-centered, it is a parish that fundamentally understands itself, that its seedbed is the liturgy and the Eucharist. To tell the truth, that's why we gather. The real reason why we even know each other is because of the liturgy. It is, as Vatican II says, the source and the summit of our faith. It is the fount from which the church's life flows. The measure of a good parish, in the last year, ever since Cardinal Brislin arrived here, I had this sort of job of accompanying him and emceeing for him everywhere. And so for the first time, I really had time to see the liturgical life of the parish and of the diocese. And I could tell the quality of the parish by the quality of its liturgy. If you are wanting to do liturgical acrobatics, as the Cardinal said recently, not in the Catholic liturgy. That's not the place to experiment. That's not the place to mess around. The rites, R-I-T-E-S, are always right, R-I-G-H-T. The rites of the church are always right. So even if you are looking for something to be creative about, the place to start is not the liturgy. Start a prayer group, or something, an art class, whatever it is, do something. But the rites of the church are always right. In fact, it is this shared condition that we have as Catholics from Afghanistan to Cape Town. The fact that I can wander into any Catholic church and be at home. And so you have to get that right. And here I'm very jealous, Not only do you have the right building and the right music and all of these things, you have made an effort to retain the Catholic identity in the liturgy. And you should give yourselves a round of applause for that. It is the essential sign that the Eucharist is truly the source and the summit. A healthy parish prioritizes the Mass, ensuring that it is celebrated with reverence, with dignity, with joy, and with beauty. A successful Catholic parish does not spare itself or spare its resources when it comes to the liturgy. So, you don't find a mug, at a sort of Mug and Bean or something, or Starbucks, and say, what a wonderful chalice. You get the best. And the quality of the faith of the people is measured by the tools with which they use to pray. It tells us how serious you take your faith. It should bother you if your parish does not have the resources for prayer, uses sacramentaries that are similar to the one I use at the cathedral, where every time you page, the page flies out, or something like that. It tells you of the quality of what the people here think of the liturgy and their way of prayer. Never allow what we went through at the cathedral to happen here. It's an expensive exercise, but the tools of prayer must always be kept up to date. The organs must never be silent, ever. Nothing that is for God should be compromised in any way. To this day, when I celebrate masses at the cathedral and I lift a chalice, I see somebody's name on it. They're no longer there. But I'm forced to pray for them because they remembered that they had an appointment with the future. Everything that you see in this parish is somebody who had an appointment with the future, with you sitting here. The very chair, the very pew, whatever it is, somebody thought that something eternal must endure beyond us. And the generations to come must also pray for us as we have thought of them. There's a funniness in that we are beneficiaries of grand institutions and we claim we don't want to make any contributions further. We must also make sure that we layer up in the very foundations that have already been given to us. That the generations after us must find a parish church that is healthy, that is alive, that is beautiful in both its people and its resources. Liturgy is a good place to start. The second is this: it must have a culture of welcome and hospitality. Now, when I say this, I really don't mean that you should be sort of bouncy. I mean, sometimes you just want to be left alone. You really are not looking for welcome. Sometimes none of us come to church really for a social party. Sometimes we just want to be left alone. But we're talking about a disposition of hospitality and welcome. To see, to notice that I haven't seen this face before. Where are you? Who are you? Where are you from? The majority of the people in life generally want to be seen, want to be recognized. How are you? I read now more than ever, people refer to the hospitality of South Africans. They will always greet you, they always smile at you, and all of that. They seem to forget and lose that when they come to the church. Everybody looks so, sort of frustrated and all of that sort of thing. Does a stranger feel at home when they walk through our doors? A healthy parish is intentionally welcoming. It moves beyond superficial friendships. I talk about genuine hospitality. It is a place where we feel free to believe, to be welcomed. It is also a place, remember, the church, as Pope Francis said before, it is fundamentally and truly a hospital for sinners. This is not a club of holiness and perfection. So if you are sitting here and thinking, oh, this one shouldn't be there, or this one shouldn't be doing this, you are not the right candidate for a parish. You should probably find, I don't know, a hermit or something. If people's lives are bothering you that much that you are unwelcoming, get a life. Third, discipleship and ongoing formation. We have a solid catechetical life in the life of the church. But it seems to me that once people have gone beyond confirmation, they think they've graduated. We have to find truly a mechanism through which people are eternally formed in an ongoing basis. And I admire that you can pull together a parish summit on a Saturday morning. That means the desire is there to want to do more, to learn more, and to grow. And this is an important thing. We have to open ourselves up to a church and a life that is always alive and growing. Thank God that we're Catholics. The fundamentals, the basics are always there. But if you are not growing, you are dying. And if your church is not offering you a sense of spiritual maturity and formation, then there's a problem. It is my hope that we will begin to look at formation even for those who have been thoroughly catechized. Because people sometimes forget their duty to be firstly human beings. Sometimes we have to teach people again to be human beings. You have to remind people of the teachings of the church about dignity and equality and morality and ethics and so on. I often get worried when I think about the fact that the bulk of the people who are said to be corrupt in government and all of those kinds of places are also Catholic. And it often tells me that the catechism wasn't very successful. Because if you were thoroughly catechized, you would know what it means to be a citizen in a country, in a society, and in a community. So our catechism should move beyond Hail Marys and Our Fathers. It should be talking every day about what it means to live the Catholic faith in your everyday experience. Finally, a joyful and a reconciled community. A healthy parish is characterized by genuine fellowship, by reconciliation. It is a family of a shared common purpose where people feel that they are known, they are loved, they are supported in their call to holiness. It is a place where we can be comfortable and vulnerable at the same time. It is a place where there is sufficient apology and gratitude at the same time. It is a place where we're offering much more than just a social club. Guard against what I call parish elite tendencies. There's nobody who's more Catholic than the other. So this tendency must be avoided at all costs. Our service in our ministries, different ministries, are meant for the sanctification of our souls and the service of God, fundamentally. Ad majorem Dei Gloria. I was Jesuit trained. Believe it or not, I went to a Jesuit university. I'm an honorary Jesuit. Bishop Risi, every time he would see me, he would say, I actually don't think you should have been a diocesan. I think you should have been Jesuit. That really it fits you better. And I used to say, if I wasn't so in love with the city of Johannesburg, I probably would have been Jesuit. But the thought that I might wake up in another country is not very encouraging for me. In the garden, St. Paul reminds us we're planted, watered, that God gives us the opportunity. We are seedlings of God looking to grow. And parishes are a good seedbed with thorough catechesis, liturgies, sacraments, sacramentals. This seed of faith must grow. Everybody should feel as if that was our home. Even if you move or you go wherever, you should always look back at the time you've spent in whatever parish to think, I grew up there. That was our home. And not just for those who are active in their faith, but even the ones that we've left in their beds this morning, our children, our grandchildren, and so on. They too should find that they belong to the parish. And naturally, if you ask them, even if they've never come to Mass, what is your parish? They should say, Holy Trinity, Braamfontein, because they'll be drawing from the joy that we experience when we come to this place of prayer. I'm very grateful. Thank you very much.